Hey guys, it's Dylan, and today I'm going to show you how to change out an axle shaft on a Jeep Cherokee XJ, or pretty much any other Jeep for that matter. So I just got this Jeep. It's a 97 two-door, has a full roll cage, 35, 6.5-inch long arm lift, steel bumpers, visor, all sorts of cool stuff. Anyway, I'm going to be transferring all these parts onto my good green Jeep eventually as soon as I get a truck. But I'm not sure when that will be yet, so I'm just trying to get this ready to tow up to the off-road park. So the first thing you want to do is remove the wheel. Next, you'll get a 13mm socket and undo the brake caliper. On the older Jeeps, I think it's all the Renix Jeeps that have a it's like an Allen key instead of a 13mm. And I'm not sure if all the steps will be the same or if they'll be slightly different for a Renix Jeep. Once you remove the bolts for the brake caliper, you pull it off and set it somewhere where it won't like hang on the line. If you have a stock Jeep, what I would do is just get like a zip tie or a bungee cord and just hang it from somewhere up above. Or with mine, like I have a long arm kit, so I'm able to set it on the drive shaft and upper control arm, and it's pretty sturdy up there. So now you want to pull off the rotor, and then you'll want to remove this clip right here. I'll need two hands to do this because this will just spin whenever I try to remove the cotter pin. So I'm going to set the camera down real quick and come back when that's off. After you remove that little pin, you can pull off this cap, and then there's a washer underneath of it. You don't want to lose that. So set them off to the side with all your other hardware. And then you'll have a 36mm nut. So you'll definitely need either a really long breaker bar or an impact driver. I have an impact driver, and it makes it a lot easier than just using a breaker bar and a ratchet. If your U-joint isn't completely broken like mine is, then what you'll be able to do is just leave one of the other front wheels on the ground, and then you can put it in four-wheel drive, and then this won't spin as you try to undo the nut, but mine's broken as you can see. So I probably should have taken this nut off before I took the wheel off. So yeah, if your wheels don't have center caps, you can just take off the nut just like this, or you're able to just take off the center cap and put the wheel back on and then remove the nut that way. I completely forgot about that, so I'm gonna have to try figuring something out. I might be able to jam like a screwdriver or something in there somehow and lock it up. I'll try to figure out the best way to do it in a minute. I'm not sure if this will hold or not, but I have a big wrench jammed in there. So I'm going to see if that'll hold it in place while I try to remove this big nut. Wow, this nut came off so easy. So I wouldn't expect it to come off that easy. I'll include a video of the last time that I tried to take off one of these nuts at the junkyard. I used this impact driver and I got it off, but it was completely coated in rust, and it was just terrible. So now you'll have another washer in here. It's kind of hard to get to, so you can try to take it out like this, use a screwdriver or something, or you can just wait till you pull off this whole assembly. Next, what you'll need to do is remove the wheel bearing. So it's held on by three 13mm 12-point bolts. So I got a 12-point socket. I'd recommend getting a 1/2-inch drive one. Usually these bolts are really skewed, but I'm pretty sure the guy before me that had this Jeep changed the axle shafts really often, so I'm not expecting this to be too hard to get off. You can see the threads right there. They're not too bad. But if you live like up north, or actually pretty much anywhere for that matter, these Jeeps really like to rust around here, so it's a pain to get off. I'm gonna attempt to get all 3 bolts out with just a ratchet. If I need to, I'll use my impact driver. Well, this didn't go too well. So, I don't know who put this on, but they must use like a 1-inch impact driver and just put it on all the way. This would not come off. I had the impact driver on it. I had map gas. It had PB blaster. Nothing would loosen that up. Eventually, I stripped out the bolt. So I had to grind it off here, which was a pain. Right now I'm at my grandma's house. She was letting me work in the garage here, since I can't work in the garage at my house. So I had to go back home, like a half-hour round trip, to get my angle grinder, grind off the bolt here. And also I realized this ball joint's like starting to fall out, since this doesn't have a cotter pin in it, and that loosened up, and yeah, I gotta tighten that. And also, if you have a stock Jeep, or like stock steering and everything, or probably even just a good alignment, you won't need to take off the steering, but the alignment is terrible in this Jeep, so it wouldn't turn far enough off to the side for me to get the impact driver in there, so I just unbolted the steering. And luckily, like as soon as I cut that bolt off, this popped right off. Like I'm able to get the wheel bearing off by hand, which never happens. So if you have trouble getting that off and you don't want to just be pounding on it with a hammer and pry bar for a long time, then go look at my video before this one. I'll show you a really easy way to get the wheel bearing off. All you need are some socket extensions. So yeah, check out that video. Now that the wheel bearing is off, all that I need to do is pull out the axle shaft. There it is. It's a bit destroyed. And it has one of these like cheap eBay or Amazon axle seals. And I'm just going to take that off. It doesn't have one on the other side. And the axle shaft I'm putting in already has one. So it has a stock style, but I'll probably be getting like decent ones when I tear everything off of this Jeep to put on my new Jeep. Or on my good Jeep, not new Jeep. While all this stuff is out, I'm going to tighten up that ball joint and see if I can find a cotter pin to put in there. So once you get it all torn apart, the axle shaft should be able to just pull right out of the wheel bearing here. You might need to give it a little bit of motivation with a hammer if it's old and rusty, but it should pop right back out. And also, some diff fluid will pour out of there when you pull the shaft out, so you want to throw like a paper towel or something in there until you can get the new shaft in. This is a shaft that I got off of someone on Facebook. I originally pulled one at the junkyard, but it was really rusty, and like I couldn't even get the U-joint out of it. Like I bought a new U-joint and everything for it, but all the clips were just too rusty, so I just decided to get one from a guy on Facebook in a local Jeep group. So threw a new U-joint in there, and it's ready to be installed. It's really milky looking. I should probably change that fluid. Sure has some water in it. But pretty much all you do is just throw the shaft right back down there. Kind of twist it around a little bit, get it lined up with the splines. Go put the phone down to do this. There, it slid right in. So now you pretty much want to do just everything in reverse. So, I'm going to put the wheel bearing back on. I'm soaking this on PB Blaster. I'm hoping I can get it out with some vice grips eventually. But I'm just going to kind of let it sit there and soak in. I'll put another little spray on it. I'm not really going to drive it too much soon, so I'm not going to worry about that bolt. So if I can't get that out, I'll just get a new wheel bearing, but it won't be too bad. And also, I'd recommend putting some anti-seize on the wheel bearing surface in here, and on these bolts, so that you won't have the same issue that I had. I don't have a hammer here, so I'm using a trailer hitch. Now, I'll put the thick washer on, then the nut, want to go too tight, but just kind of get snugged up. Now get your 12.13mm bolts and put them back in. Again, I'm only putting the 2 in. I mean, it should be fine, just kind of drive around like that, since it won't be on the street or anything, but if you actually care about your Jeep, then put all 3 bolts in. And if it breaks, try to grind off the head, pull it out, see if you can use some vice grips to get it out. If not, buy a new wheel bearing, they're like 50 bucks. I think I had to do that on my last Jeep that I had. You don't want to go too tight or else you'll regret it later. Now you want to put on the fin washer. Then this little cap thing that goes over here. And you want to line it up so that you can get your cotter pin through the hole. So just kind of twist this around and find the best way to put it. I'll just put the cotter pin back in here. And now we don't have much more left to do. So I'm just going to put the brake rotor on. There. And now I get the caliper and put that on. And I forgot to bring a clamp with me. So I'm going to see what I can find around here. See if I can find any C-clamps or anything like that to compress the brake pads so I can get it back on the rotor. That's pretty much all there is to it. So I got the brake caliper back on. Somehow I was able to just use some pliers here and get the pads in just enough to slip them on. And instead of the same problem that pretty much every other Jeep had that I've had. So the bottom brake caliper bolt was stripped out. So I'm going to have to use a Healy coil. I'm pretty sure I have one at home, or a whole kit at home for that size bolt. So I'm going to have to drill out that hole and then use a Healy coil, which is pretty much like, it's kind of like a spring that you put into a hole and then it kind of just like makes new threads. I'll probably do a video on that too. But pretty much all I have to do now is put the wheel and tire back on, and I'm probably gonna drive down the street and make sure everything's good. So that's it for this video. So if you liked it, remember to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.